Hello, Preview Advisors, and welcome to Pre-Health and Pre-Law Advising training for Preview Advisors. And in this presentation, we're going to talk about some of the basics when it comes to pre-health and pre-law advising so that you can be well equipped for issues and questions that might come up for incoming freshmen who are pre-health and pre-law. So we're going to start out talking about pre-health. And first we want to go ahead and define what it means to be pre-health here at UF. By pre-health, we really just mean any student who intends to go on to a graduate program in the health professions. So here you can see some of the common areas, including pre-medicine, pre-dental, but we also have some that are less common or that you may not have heard of as frequently, such as occupational therapy, and some that we don't even list here. There are things like genetic counseling, anesthesiology assistance. So our office here at UF, we have a pre-health advising office who advises students who are interested really in any of these areas except for nursing. So students who are interested in nursing will see the advisors in the College of Nursing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about majors in just a bit. Also, just know that at UF there really is no formal designation for being pre-health. So that's a very common question that we get from incoming students is, do I have to apply to the pre-health program, or is there somewhere that I need to designate that I'm pre-health? And there isn't. They just have to say, I'm pre-health and I intend to go on to one of these professions, and we're here to help them. So we do have a pre-health advising office here on campus. It's located in Ferrier Hall in the Academic Advising Center. The office sees students from all colleges and all majors, so they don't have to be within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And they do individual advising via walk-ins. They do appointments, workshops, application preparation, things like reviewing personal statements, and helping students by doing mock interviews. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what kind of numbers we're talking about here at UF, each year we have around 3,000 incoming freshmen who indicate an interest in being pre-health. And they indicate this interest. They can do so on their freshman admission application, but we really get a better idea when they complete preview prep. So on preview prep, they're able to indicate what area of pre-health that they may intend to pursue. And then we also keep numbers based on how many students attend the pre-health information session on day one of preview. So every year it's roughly around 3,000 incoming students, which is usually about 40% of the incoming class. So it's a big number. Also every year we have usually around 3,000 applications to health professional graduate programs. So this past year we had actually over 3,100, which is the biggest number that we've had since we started keeping track of this. You can see the different types of applications that were submitted just to get an idea of what's most popular. We do see that with incoming freshmen, medicine tends to be a little bit more popular than what you see here. So what you can take away from this is that we have a lot of students coming into UF indicating an interest in going on to a career in healthcare, and actually we don't really drop off that much. So coming out, a lot of students still have that interest and a lot of students still apply to these types of programs. So medicine is by far the most popular, followed by physician assistant, which has seen a real increase in the last just 2 or 3 years. This is the largest number of applicants that we've ever had. So this gives you an idea of where they're going. So this just shows you that UF is one of the top feeder schools to a lot of the medical programs and dental programs in the country, in addition to the other professions. But here you can see for last year where we stood for both allopathic and osteopathic medical schools, dental schools, and then how we are in the as a feeder school for Black African American applicants as well as Hispanic Latino medical school applicants. So do really well. Just very briefly, we wanted to let you know that when students apply to these types of health professional programs, the schools do look for a lot more than just what their GPA is and their standardized test scores. So they're looking at applications holistically. And so when we talk to students at preview on day one, we of course don't have time to go into all of these in a lot of detail, but we do let them know that it really is more than just their grades. So a really common question that we get from incoming students is, what should I major in? And like I mentioned before, there's no official designation here at UF, and pre-med, pre-dental, it's not an official major. So we encourage students to base their major choice on what their interests are, what their strengths are, and maybe what fits into their backup plan. So in the session that we do on day one, we tell students, think about what you would want to major in if you weren't pre-health at all, and that's probably a good choice. If a student decides on a science major, then we recommend that they make sure to take some non-science courses as electives, and vice versa. If they're a non-science major, we recommend that they take some science courses as electives beyond the prerequisites. So the bottom line is they should be well-rounded, but their major itself doesn't really matter. There are a few majors, however, that would be kind of difficult. It doesn't mean a student can't start out with both intentions in mind, but some of the majors like accounting, architecture, or education that lead to very specific career paths don't work very well with pre-health as a student progresses in their education. So it's usually okay and doable for a student to want to choose one of these majors initially with pre-health in mind. We can usually keep them on track for both at the beginning, but at some point they may need to choose which they prefer better. So there are a few health-related majors available here at UF. There are some you may not have even been aware of, like geography has a track in medical geography and global health. And there's some that are a little bit more obvious, like health science, health education, behavior. So health science is a common one that students are attracted to if they're pre-health. This major is actually not a science major, but it does focus on things like healthcare leadership, healthcare communication, healthcare management. So it's a great option for students who might be interested in healthcare administration. And we do have pre-health students that major in it. They also have public health as a major option. Health education behaviors in the College of Health and Human Performance, and students who are interested in any area of pre-health might be interested in this if they're interested in things like health promotion, preventative medicine, and that type of thing. We have nursing and a pre-pharmacy track. The two that we most commonly get questions about are nursing, which is a case where students who want to be a nurse should choose that as their major coming in. It's a very lockstep curriculum once they get into the third and fourth year. It's also very competitive here at UF to be accepted into the upper division. So they should certainly see a nursing advisor once they get here after they attend preview. The pre-pharmacy track can be confusing to some students and to some advisors. The pre-pharmacy track is not a degree program. It's not a bachelor's degree program. What it is a place for students to be if they intend to go to pharmacy school after completing all of their prerequisites for pharmacy in just 2 years. So pharmacy schools don't actually require a bachelor's degree. They'll accept an AA degree and the prerequisites. So we do have, some students that choose to only be here for 2 years. They have to be quite advanced as far as their sciences. It would be almost impossible for a student who placed into a lower level math course to do this track. Students who are pre-pharmacy certainly do not need to choose this, and they shouldn't choose it if they intend to get a bachelor's degree or even to be here for 3 years before starting pharmacy school. So this is what we call our prerequisite chart for pre-health courses. This is what students can access on the pre-health website. We also show it on day one of preview, and you can certainly should have a copy or keep a copy in your materials just so you can reference it on day one or day two if you need to when you're working with a student. So you can see the most popular health professions are listed across the top, and then the UF course numbers are listed along the side on the left. And X means that it's required here at UF. or a vast number of other programs, and R just means that it's recommended. So if it's recommended, that means that there might be some other programs that do require it, but UF does not. So it is ultimately up to the individual student to investigate the prerequisites at the schools that they're planning to apply to. A lot of students as incoming freshmen, of course, don't know where they plan to apply, and that's okay. We don't expect them to. And so we like them to just kind of keep their options open. You can see there's a lot of overlap in what they take, especially in the first year, even if they don't know what profession that they want. I do also want to mention a little bit about the XLabs. So the XLabs ISC 2400L is XLab 1, and that can serve as a prerequisite for health professional programs. It's equivalent to general chemistry 1 lab, biology 1 lab, and physics 1 lab. So it's a 3-credit course that is equivalent to all 3 of those lab courses. So it is okay for pre-health students, and it's actually a really good option for students who come in maybe a little bit underprepared. So if a student has not a very strong background in biology or chemistry, it's a really good one for them, and it's offered both summer B or fall. The only prerequisite is a high school level of pre-calculus. So what should incoming students start with? We tell them to start with math and chemistry, and there's a few reasons for this. Obviously, math is a prerequisite for some courses like chemistry, and it's a good background for courses like physics. But it's also, those courses are common for semester tracking courses for many of the majors that pre-health students choose. And chemistry is the longest sequence for some of those professions, like if a student's pre-med or pre-dental or pre-vet or pre-pharmacy, they have to go all the way through biochemistry, and so we want them to start that early. So this is a slide that we show students on day 1 of the pre-health session, and it's a good one that you can reference as well. So a student should start out with a MAC course or a math course based on their placement. So if they start in MAC 1105, that's perfectly okay. They're going to be fine if they're pre-health, but we don't want them to do chemistry in their first semester. Same thing with MAC 1140. And then there's various combinations of pre-calc and calc and intro to chem and chem that they could do. And of course, you have placement in a different training session, so use your knowledge there to help them figure out what's best. But math and chemistry is where we want students to start. There are some students that will come in with incoming credit for both of these, and we'll talk about what to do in those cases in just a minute. Some general advice that we give to first year students: we really don't want them to take over 15 hours in the first semester. You'll find some students are pretty ambitious and they want to really take on a lot and they have great confidence, which is good, but we don't want students to be overconfident in their first semester, and they're really going to have plenty of time to demonstrate rigor in future semesters. So we'd rather see them take that first semester as a time to transition and take 15 or fewer hours if it's in their best interest during that first term. We also don't usually recommend that students take Biology 1 in their first semester. You will find that a lot of students come in thinking that they want to take Biology 1, but over the years we found that it's just not that friendly to first semester students. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's a very rigorous course. It's also usually team taught by 3 different professors, and so having to adjust to 3 different teaching styles in the student's first semester can be a little much for some students. The one area where this might be an exception would be with pre-pharmacy students, and it also may be an exception with students who are in biomedical engineering, depending on their incoming credit and what the rest of their schedule looks like. We do encourage students to use their electives wisely and choose them with intention so that they can explore maybe an alternate major, or actually really just to, again, learn about those non-science aspects of healthcare and medicine and people. So if a student is bringing an AP, IB, ACE, dual enrollment credit, a lot of times, especially if they're bringing it in for one of the prerequisite courses, they'll ask if they need to repeat it. So what you should know is that requirements at the graduate school level, so at the medical school level, dental school level, are very school specific. So some professional schools will accept any high school credit. It doesn't matter when they took it or anything like that, as long as it appears on the university transcript. Other programs will accept that type of incoming credit only if the student supplemented it with higher level courses in the same area. So if a student comes in with AP credit for Biology 1, the school is fine with that if the student takes a higher level biology course later on. And sometimes they even specify that it has to be taken with a lab if they don't repeat the AP or IB lab credit. Some schools don't accept any high school credit at all. Usually this is credit by exam. It applies, I would say, more frequently to students with AP or IB credit, but there are some professional schools, not a big number, that don't accept credits from state or community colleges. It's not very common, but it does happen. So we just want students to be aware that it's not something that UF decides. We'll of course take their incoming credit as it says in their preview workbook and in the undergraduate catalog, but the professional schools have different requirements. I do want to note that for students who are pre-PA, we do usually recommend that they repeat their AP or IB credit for statistics and chemistry, and that's because a lot of our students do apply to UF's PA program, and they currently don't accept AP or IB credit or ACE credit for stats and chemistry. Okay, so what do we tell students if they have incoming credit? They really have two options that we recommend. So they can either repeat that credit here, which is a great option if maybe it's been a while since they've taken that course, they want to enhance their knowledge base, they want to review for an entrance exam that they may eventually take, or they just want to build hopefully a strong GPA. If they've got a really good background in it from high school, usually students do fairly well. The other option, again, is to take a higher level course in that same area. So take the same number of credits that they earned from incoming credit and then show performance in a more rigorous course in that subject. So either one is okay. It's really up to the student. Sometimes we'll recommend that they maybe take a look at the syllabus for the course that they're thinking about not repeating, see if they recognize everything on there. Sometimes they can find old exams and exam reviews. Then maybe they want to take a look at that and see if they really know the material well as it's taught here at UF, or if they might want to review before they go on to something higher level. And we usually don't recommend going on to that higher level course until well after their first semester. So it's not something that they would do right away. Some reasons why students should think about repeating or supplementing their work. Really, a lot of professional programs just don't see that high school credit as being equivalent to taking the course at UF or at the university level. They also don't get a grade associated with it. So unless it's dual enrollment. So if their AP, IB, or ACE credits are posted on their UF transcript, it's just the grade shows as a P, and that's what they would put on their professional school application. So they don't have a good idea of how the student actually did in the course. They also need to demonstrate their ability for science at the university level versus high school level. The students that will be taking standardized tests that have science on them would be pre-med students, pre-dental students, pre-pharmacy students, and pre-optometry students. So those students might want to review before their standardized test. English and math can be a little bit different. So for English, if a student comes in with AP, IB, ACE, or dual enrollment credit, that is accepted at most professional schools. Not all, but most of them do. But we still recommend that students take English courses here at UF so that they can build their communication skills, their writing skills, and prepare for those standardized exams. All of the exams that students would take to get into a health professional program have some type of verbal or reading comprehension section. So it's really important for them to read a lot and, of course, improve their writing skills for any profession. Math. Math is also a little bit different. So most professional schools will accept AP, IB, ACE, and dual enrollment credit. So students should really think about what's needed for their major when they're deciding whether or not that they want to repeat any credit here. So for instance, if a student has incoming credit for Calc 1 and their major requires Calc 2 or Calc 3, they might want to repeat that Calc 1 credit just as a firm foundation in the subject. And of course, use your information that we give you about placement when helping them make that decision. almost all health professions require statistics. And so if a student is coming in with AP Calculus and they don't want to repeat it, that's fine. They can go ahead and take statistics that they wanted to in the fall or a later semester. So students don't have to repeat that AP Calculus. It's really not even required for most professional schools. There's maybe about 4 medical schools that require calculus. There are some more that require 6 hours of university level math. So it's kind of up to the student, depends on what they have in mind for their major. And as far as medical schools, if they have a dream school in mind, it's always a good idea to check with that school and see what their AP/IB dual enrollment policies are. But usually, in most cases, it doesn't have to be repeated. We still recommend it in some cases, just because even if it's not required and a student doesn't have credit for it, they may change their mind about what profession that they want. So they might come in thinking that they're pre-dental, but later on want to change to pharmacy or optometry. Also, their major may require it. So you'll still see a lot of pre-health students that do choose to take it. Some other tips: we do recommend that students avoid online prerequisite classes. Many professional schools just still won't accept the online credit, or they strongly prefer traditional classroom-based credit. The exception to that is that pre-med students, you'll notice on that prerequisite chart that they should take general psychology and principles of sociology as preparation for the MCAT. And since those aren't actual prerequisites at most medical schools, it is okay for them to take those 2 courses online. That's fine. Okay, so just a few tips when working with students who are bringing in a lot of credit, even students who might be bringing in their AA from high school. A lot of times these students will, sometimes not always, be in a hurry, and they might think that they want to graduate in 2 years and move right on to a health professional program like medical school or dental school. So we really try to encourage them to slow things down a little bit, because professional schools really value maturity. They value students with life experience, and also students that have really demonstrated over a long period of time their commitment to the profession. So they're really going to be more competitive if they have that typical 3 to 4 years of not only university level coursework, but the extracurricular activities. So remember, I talked about them looking at applications holistically, and the average applicant has at least 4 years of those types of experiences, or doesn't apply until at least 4 years of university level coursework. So we do encourage those students, especially those with an AA, to meet with a pre-health advisor during their first semester, and to really think about an academic plan that will prepare them for the people side of medicine, that humanistic side, the ethical side, because there's a lot of courses that they can take here. Even if they think they can go quickly through their science courses, there's a lot of other courses that are going to be beneficial for them. We also find that a lot of students just haven't thought out what courses they're actually going to be required to take here. So they may have an AA degree, but not have started chemistry, biology, physics, those types of courses. So graduating in 2 and sometimes even 3 years just isn't realistic, and not in the best interest of them, because the plans would just be too rigorous. So we definitely like them to think of it not so much as a race, and definitely not a sprint. It's more like a marathon. We do have a list of suggested electives that pre-health students can look at, and you're certainly welcome to download and print this too, or just bookmark it so that you can refer to it when you're meeting with students. We encourage students to avoid the general education, biological, and physical sciences that are intended for non-science majors. Really, this is because they're going to be covering their general education credits in those areas with the prerequisite courses. So there's no need for them to take those types of classes. I mean, if they have a real keen interest, let's say in astronomy, then sure, they could take intro to astronomy. But if they shouldn't be taking those types of courses unless they really do have a distinct interest. And a lot of times there are upper level courses that are meant for science majors that they could take a little later on that would meet those interests. So instead of wildlife issues, they can take an upper division wildlife course later on if they're interested in wildlife. Instead of man's food, they can take human nutrition. They can take upper level nutrition courses later on. So take a look at the handout that we have. It's about 4 or 5 pages long, and it groups the electives by different interest areas and hopefully gets them thinking about, again, those non-science aspects of healthcare. These are just some examples of some freshman appropriate electives that they may want to think about. I'm not going to read them all off, but you can see them there. Some of them are for students in certain majors, like the first one, which is the FYI biology, but most of the other ones, in fact all the other ones listed here, are really for students in any major, and they're good introductions to some of the topics that we feel like are important to know if they're pre-health. I will mention some differences between the MDU 4003 and the HSC 2000. The MDU 4003 is an online course taught through the UF College of Medicine. It's really great for students who have a good sense that they want to go into specifically a medical profession, so to be a doctor or maybe a PA, a physician assistant, whereas the HSC 2000 is a little bit broader. It's usually in person, and it goes into more depth about some of the other health professions like pharmacy, like nursing, PT, OT. So if students unsure of what they want to pursue in healthcare, that actually might be the better one. But even students that know that they want to go into medicine could still benefit from the HSC 2000, because of course it's important to know what your peers are doing and what the other people that are working with you are responsible for. Now I'm going to go through just a few options to be aware of for students who are coming into some of these pre-health areas. You don't by any means have to be experts on them, but you might hear students talk about them, and they might ask questions about them, which we don't expect you to know all the answers, but certainly refer them to a pre-health advisor if they have an interest. We do mention them at the day one pre-health session, so I'm going to mention them here too. We have basically a 3+4 program for the medical school here at UF. It's called the Medical Honors Program. Students apply in their second year regardless of how many incoming credits that they have. And if they're admitted to this program, the third year students take courses, some seminar courses taught by faculty at the College of Medicine, and then their fourth year is really their first year of medical school. So instead of 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of medical school, they do 3 years of undergrad and 4 years of medical school. I would just refer students to the website, which has a wealth of information, and then to a pre-health advisor if they want to talk to someone about it once they get here. There's also a 3+4 program with a biology major and the UF College of Pharmacy. So it's kind of similar, although there's not a specific curriculum for the third year. Students basically complete the majority of the biology curriculum in their first 3 years. Then they apply to UF Pharmacy School either at the end of their second year, beginning of their third year. And if they're admitted, they can then have the biology degree awarded after their first year of pharmacy school. So again, we just encourage students to meet with a biology advisor early on if they're thinking about this program. There's also a 3+4 BS DMD program for students who are pre-dental. In this one, students apply after their first year of courses here at UF. Students have to then declare either microbiology or nutritional sciences as their major. And again, just like the other two programs, they would enter dental school in their fourth year. And then they would get one of those two majors. They would get degrees in one of those two majors awarded at the end of their fourth year. Okay, so a few resources for pre-health students in case you get questions you can't answer. Of course, we have the pre-health advising office here at the Academic Advising Center in Farrier Hall. We do the pre-health preview presentation that students can go to, but there's also the college sessions for students interested in nursing, OT, or students interested in athletic training. So for nursing, they would go to the College Nursing Center session. For occupational therapy, they can go to the College of Public Health and Health Professions session. And for athletic training, they can go to the College of Health and Human Performance. If a student's only interested in nursing, please don't send them to the preview pre-health session. Just send them to the nursing session and they can attend a different one during the pre-health time. We have a pre-health website that you can see here that has a lot of information on it. We also really encourage students to enroll early in Pre-Health Essentials. Pre-Health Essentials is a free, not for credit, non-graded Canvas course that has all of our online workshops, videos, handouts, all sorts of things on it that student can use at their own pace from the time that they enroll in it all the way through the time that they apply to professional school. We also want students to subscribe to the pre-health listserv, and they can find that on our homepage, how to subscribe to that. And then, like I said, our online workshops, they are on Pre-Health Essentials, but most of them are also on our website. So we have a basic one called Pre-Health 101 that you guys are welcome to watch as well. Some additional resources for you guys. Feel free by all means to come to one of our breakout sessions that we hold on day one. You're more than welcome to sit in and see what we tell students or just get a refresher. We don't mind at all. You can also check out our FAQ section of our website that has a lot of frequently asked questions as well. And then if you want to contact us directly, you can by all means use the prehealth@advising.ufl.edu email address, or you're welcome to also contact one of the pre-health advisors individually. Their email addresses and direct lines are listed here. Please, however, do not give the phone numbers to students. The phone numbers are for preview advisors only. If for some reason you're not able to get a hold of anyone or you need assistance from our pre-health support staff, that number is listed here as well. Okay, so now we're going to take a few minutes to talk about pre-law here at UF. Just like pre-health, there's no pre-law major. So a student can be any major and be pre-law, any major they enjoy. They should just strive to be outstanding students who are able to read well, write well, have good critical thinking skills, and take rigorous courses from instructors. UF is a #1 feeder school to approved law schools, and this has been the case for quite a few years. So we have a lot of pre-law students here at UF. Some resources for them are the information in the preview workbook. There is no breakout session for pre-law at preview. They can certainly come and see a pre-law advisor, again here in the Academic Advising Center in Farrier Hall. There's a pre-law website, as well as pre-law email advising, a pre-law listserv, and workshops and events that they put on throughout the year that students can find on the website. Here are some pre-law organizations: Pre-Legal Honor Society, Phi Alpha Delta, Hawkins and Esquire. So students can certainly get involved if they would like to in a pre-law organization. Some recommendations, again, just encourage students to join the listserv, to check out the pre-law workshops that are offered, and take reading, writing intensive courses. There are no prerequisites for students who are pre-law. So there's not a list of courses like there is for pre-health. If a student's pre-law, they can really take any courses, but hopefully ones that are going to encourage them to read a lot, write a lot, and develop those critical thinking skills.